The Arizona Wildcats lose to the Oregon Ducks. Final score, Arizona Wildcats 57 to the Oregon Ducks 64. It was a bad game, definitely for the University of Arizona Wildcats. Three-pointers were just falling for the Oregon Ducks. They couldn't miss a three-pointer, it seemed, especially in those final minutes of the game, and that's why the Oregon Ducks were able to shoot. They shot 10 for 19 from three-point land, so they made like 52% of the three-pointers. I'm going off on ESPN stats here, so it might be a little bit different if you look at Sporting News or Yahoo Sports or something else. And the Arizona Wildcats shot 2 for 11 from three-point land. Gabe York, which usually adds his contributions to the three-pointers, made 0 out of 2 from three-point land, and so that was a big no-no. And another thing is that Aaron Gordon, he usually maybe has one three-pointer attempt or maybe 2 three-pointer attempts per game, and this game he had 4 three-pointer attempts, and he missed them all. And so that was, I think that was another dagger in the Arizona Wildcats. The Arizona Wildcats did almost out-rebound the Oregon Ducks. The Arizona Wildcats had 26 defensive rebounds, and the Oregon Ducks had 25 defensive rebounds, but the Arizona Wildcats only had 9 offensive rebounds, while the Oregon Ducks had 10 offensive rebounds. I think offensive rebounds are really, really valuable as far as bringing up the morale, bringing up the feeling, the good feelings of the team, and it was Aaron Gordon that had 4 offensive rebounds, and Tarczewski that had 3 offensive rebounds. Usually we get Rondé Hollis-Jefferson has a couple offensive rebounds, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson also usually gets a couple of assists, and he didn't have any assists tonight, and he didn't have any offensive rebounds. So whatever they did to shut down Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, they did a pretty good job. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson had 3 turnovers, and one of the things was Rondé Hollis-Jefferson from the from the Arizona Wildcats. He got a lot of fouls called on him, especially somewhat right in the beginning, because if he was playing so aggressive, and I could see that. The game was on CBS, and I could see Rondé Hollis-Jefferson was playing very aggressive, and I think that's one of the reasons why the refs called the fouls on him pretty easily. I think Jason Caliste from the Oregon Ducks he shot 4 for 5 from three-point land, and he had 18 points altogether. The free throw attempts were not too bad, actually. They weren't the huge discrepancy. I mean, the Oregon Ducks shot 63% from free throws, free throw percentage, and the Arizona Wildcats shot 57% free throws. Aaron Gordon made 7 out of 12 free throws, and that I would say is probably about, it's a little bit less than 60% of free throws, and that's kind of his average, so we didn't really expect him to get too much more than that. But another thing that was really bad was Sean Miller from the coach of the Arizona Wildcats, said there was 14 turnovers, and the Arizona Wildcats usually get maybe 10 turnovers at the most. So, the amount of turnovers for the Arizona Wildcats was just, it was a major difference in what they normally get with turnovers. And so with 14 turnovers, total turnovers for the Arizona Wildcats, that was one of the reasons why the Arizona Wildcats lost this game by such a significant amount, 7 points. Yeah, it was, had 12 assists, and the Arizona Wildcats had 12 assists. The Oregon Ducks had 8 assists. I believed that the Oregon Ducks, from what I've heard from talking to the guys on the radio and listening to guys on the radio and sportscasters on television, that the Oregon Ducks are not necessarily a great, a very, they don't make very good decisions sometimes. In the end, of course, that was totally proven wrong in this game, because they shot the lights out from 3-point land, especially that Jason Caliste from the Oregon Ducks. But what I heard is that the Oregon Ducks have a whole lot of athletic ability. They have great players, and that showed up tonight with Moser having 10. Moser had 8 defensive rebounds, so he had 10 total rebounds. So he was doing really. So he had a double-double. Jonathan Lloyd had 16. Jonathan Lloyd, I don't think that he's a starter, although he did start this game, but don't think that he's somebody that's highly recognized as somebody that's a contributor for this Oregon Duck team. I think Cook might be, or maybe Artis, where Artis shot 0. He had 0 points. I think Caliste is also somebody that is highly recognized for the Oregon Ducks. But another thing that I heard is that the Oregon Ducks had guys that were not known for big scoring players step up. Jonathan Lloyd was one of them. Joseph Young was also a good one, because let's see, how many assists did he have? He had 1 assist. It's just the Oregon Ducks didn't have a whole lot of assists, and I think that was something that hurt the Oregon Ducks quite a bit, as they relied more on their athleticism instead of their team play, and that was one of the reasons why their athleticism, the Oregon Ducks' athleticism, was able to conquer the Arizona Wildcats. There just wasn't a lot of assists from the Oregon Ducks, and so what I'm saying is that one-on-one, I think a lot of it was one-on-one, and the shots were just falling for the Oregon Ducks, especially in those final 8 minutes. I think in the final 8 minutes, or the final 7 minutes, the Arizona Wildcats had 1 point compared to the Oregon Ducks, which had 14 points. So it was like the Arizona Wildcats were leading this game by quite a bit. But then with those final 8 minutes of the game, 8 or 9 minutes, well, actually it was about 10 minutes, final 10 minutes of the game, then the Arizona Wildcats just kind of folded up folded up the tent, folded up the table, and just left the building, because that was whenever Oregon Ducks just went on a tear. And it wasn't like the Arizona Wildcats weren't playing really strong defense against those 3-pointers. But it's just the Arizona Wildcats it just didn't go their way, and so the Arizona Wildcats weren't able to block any of those 3-pointer attempts, and Caliste knocked down some 3-pointers, some big 3-pointers right there at the end, and let's see, that was I think it was also Young that knocked down a 3-pointer, although he did a lot of dribble penetration, and I think he drew a lot of fouls. That was one of the reasons why the Arizona Wildcats were kind of knocked out of their comfort zone. Nick Johnson from the Arizona Wildcats got beat up big time in this game. I think he got a black eye because he got hit in the face by the palm of was it Waverly Austin from the Oregon Ducks, or was it Jonathan Lloyd from the Oregon Ducks? I don't know, but whoever it was, I think Nick Johnson from the Arizona Wildcats was black and blue after he got hit in the face by somebody's palm from the Oregon Ducks. So Nick Johnson got beat up quite a bit. He made 1 out of 3 from 3-point land. He had 4 out of 12 field goal from field goals, and so he was not doing too great field goals. And I think it was just another thing was that the Arizona Wildcats weren't able to dribble penetrate so much as I think as they would have liked to, and then that was whenever I think that was one of the killers for the Arizona Wildcats, was just they just didn't dribble penetrate as much, and just the amount of turnovers, 14 turnovers, that's bad. That's really bad. I wanted to see what T.J. McConnell from the Arizona Wildcats would do if his assist, because against Oregon State, T.J. McConnell's assist, I think he had 8 assists, which is a huge amount of assists, and he had 1 turnover. But for this game, he had 4 assists and 2 turnovers. So just the amount of turnovers. I mean, Tarczewski had 4 turnovers. Just ouch. And Hollis-Jefferson had 3 turnovers. So it was just all those turnovers that just killed the Arizona Wildcats, and that's why they weren't able to. That's one of the reasons that killed the Arizona Wildcats. Just the 3-pointers were just unstoppable from the Oregon Ducks. They were knocked down so many 3-pointers that was just amazing. And the Arizona Wildcats also had 14 turnovers, which is an unheard of amount of turnovers for the Arizona Wildcats this season. Like I said, they never really got any more turnovers. They've never had more turnovers than 10 usually per game. That's normally their average, or less. So it just, it was just turnovers and 3-pointers that just killed the Arizona Wildcats, and that's why they lost. So the Arizona Wildcats lose this game. The final score 57. Arizona Wildcats 57 to the Oregon Ducks 64.